It took a little time, but the Cleveland Browns finally got the last domino to fall. Shelby Harris agrees to terms with the Cleveland Browns. Oh, and we got a game to talk about tomorrow night. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, 7th season coverage here of the Cleveland Browns for you here at Locked On. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. Join the everyday crowd. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Locked On Browns, always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. It took a little coaxing, took a little time. Maybe Browns had to, up the ante just a tad bit, but it is official. Shelby Harris, signed, sealed, delivered, will join the Cleveland Browns for the 2023 season. 9th NFL season for Shelby Harris. Started slow in Oakland, 2 years of basically relative obscurity. Goes to the Denver Broncos as a prioritized free agent and makes the team and starts playing really well, starts performing really well, goes on for a 5-year run with the Denver Broncos, plays in 2022 with the Seattle Seahawks, but now he is a Cleveland Brown. In his time in the NFL, 24 and a half career sacks. Even more impressive, 29 passes broken up, a lot of batted balls down by Shelby Harris. Very, very disruptive guy in the interior. This was the one the Browns needed. And we spoke a little bit, obviously, with the injuries to Alex Wright and, of course, Isaiah Thomas. The defensive tackle room was still in a worse position than the defensive end room was. But now we've gotten to the point where the Browns made the major acquisition of defense coordinator Jim Schwartz. They have now spent 2 free agent acquisitions on safeties. They got 2 defensive ends, veterans brought in, of course, Zadarius Smith, and of course, Obo Okoronkwo, signed Dalvin Tomlinson, and of course, now signed Shelby Harris, 2 D tackles, 2 defensive ends, 2 safeties. Andrew Berry went to work on revamping this defense and making sure that defense coordinator Jim Schwartz is given the tools he needs to be successful in his first season here in Cleveland. Now, look at the way this is going to work out here. Now, this is now a defensive tackle room, and keep in mind, the best defensive tackle on the Cleveland Browns last year was Taven Bryant. And no disrespect to Taven Bryant, he played pretty well last year, probably played above what he has in years past. But now you upgrade to Dalvin Tomlinson. You upgrade to Shelby Harris. You draft Ika. Probably Jordan Elliott will be the 4th to fill out that room. This is a vastly, vastly improved room. This team needed this. This was a team that was gutted last year on the interior. Teams just had their way running the football on this defense. That's going to change now. It's truly going to change now. And with Shelby Harris may not necessarily start. Maybe there'll be some weeks where he starts. But we talked about getting pass rush from the interior. And the Browns, they're going to go a little bit more heavy defensive end. So they're probably going to even play 5 defensive linemen in some nickel and dime situations, and changing the way that all works here just because they want to get the pass rush on the field. They want to disrupt the other team's quarterback. That all being said, Shelby Harris can be a guy that comes in and plays in nickel, can come in and play dime. You don't have to take him off the field. You want him on the field in these situations. He's always been a great interior pass rusher, smart, quick first step, pretty athletic. There's a highlight from last year, Daniel Jones on a 3rd and 9 from the New York Giants. He's rolling out, and it looks, for all intents and purposes, like he's got the first down. He gets run down by this 290-pound gentleman in Shelby Harris, short of the sticks, and it basically calls his 4th down. Seahawks get the ball back. I'm excited about this signing, and I think the longer it went on, the more it came to the fruition that the Browns probably were going to get this done. The deal, can total somewhere in the neighborhood of $5.25, $5.35 million. Some incentives certainly, built into that deal. But a guy like Shelby Harris, this was needed. The Browns had to get this one done. It was the biggest positional need of the offseason, and they weren't able to necessarily address it the way they were hoping. They wanted to go to veteran defensive tackles. They were in on every veteran defensive tackle this offseason. Just kind of had to play a long game here. And eventually, finally, August 9th, Shelby Harris says, yes, that's it. I'm in. Sign me up. I will be part of this defense now for 2023. We got word here, and we'll do offense in the second segment. We'll do defense in the second segment, looking ahead to the game Friday night against the Commanders. But now you look at this, and we got the word that, a majority of the starters are going to play. Shelby Harris obviously not going to play, just got into town. But the importance of playing these starters, the Cleveland Browns are a team that have to start hot in the 2023 regular season. There's just no way around it. You've got Cincinnati, you've got Tennessee, you've got you got Cincinnati, you've got Pittsburgh, you got Tennessee, you've got Baltimore, bye week, San Francisco 49ers. That is your first 5 games through your first 6-week stretch. And that is a really, really difficult stretch. The offense, where we are shifting now to the world of Deshaun Watson, a world where the Browns are probably going to be a more pass-first offense than we've all ever been accustomed to over the last few years here now. Defensively, same thing, though. You will have so much newness on defense between Jim Schwartz, between all the changes in personnel, 2 at D-tackle, 2 at the end, 2 at safety, not countering in the other rookies that were brought in here as well. This team, and especially defensively, they cannot afford a slow start. Normally, when you're talking a new defense, even defense in general, it usually starts kind of slow once the season begins. And it's an understood thing within football. But the Browns truly can't afford this, because they could possibly end up on a wrong side within the AFC North and then have to chase their way uphill for the entire season. And the Browns are done with the majority of their AFC North games before week 10. Their final AFC North game is week 18 against Cincinnati Bengals. If they start slow, that week 18 game might not mean anything. So it is of the utmost paramount that this team starts strong out of the box on offense. And we're going to get to that here, on defense as well, special teams. It's all got to click early for this team to hit what we all feel, what I certainly feel this team is capable of in 2023. This team is capable of competing for the AFC North. I'm not just saying it. I'm not just trying to draw clicks, draw viewers, subscribers. No, this team is capable of winning the AFC North in 2023. I don't care what Cincinnati's done in the past. I don't like what they did this offseason. I don't think that team's improved any more than they were from last year. Baltimore, first preseason game, they're not playing starters. They are implementing a new offense. They should probably consider whether or not they should be maybe getting guys more on the field. The Pittsburgh Steelers, until I see more from Kenny Pickett, I'm not going to believe it. You can tell me whatever else is on that roster. The NFL is a quarterback-driven league, and if you ain't got the guy behind center, then you ain't got nothing. We're going to switch it up here. We're going to get to a preview of the offensive side as the Commanders come to town. Old friend Jacoby Brissett coming to town here Friday night. So everybody stick around here. I appreciate you all for being along for your latest Locked On Browns with me. August is here, and you know what that means, the official start of fantasy football drafting month. Get championship ready for your home league by trying out our best ball on Underdog Fantasy. All you do is one live snake draft. No waivers, no trades. Underdog sets your best lineup every week. Try it out with Underdog's Best Ball Mania Tournament. The largest fantasy football contest of all time is back and even bigger, with $15 million of title prizes up for grabs, including the absurd $3 million going to the winner. Last year, the winner drafted their team in July, so don't wait around. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store and sign up with the promo code LOCKEDON to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On. Continuing on here, your latest Locked On Browns, your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate you all for making Locked On Browns your first listen. Join the everyday party by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcast. Of course, the big news for the Cleveland Browns, Shelby Harris signed, sealed, ready to go in 2023 here for the Cleveland Browns. That being said, Browns are about 24 hours away from their second preseason game. Washington Commanders, we saw them obviously late in the season last year, come to Cleveland Browns Stadium Friday night. I am excited. The news broke yesterday first that the Cleveland Browns were going to play a majority of their starters in this game. And again, I agree with it wholeheartedly. There's a lot on the line for this team, this franchise this year. You have, a coach and a general manager going into their fourth year or fifth year contracts. So the future for both these gentlemen, I don't want to say it's, up there and it's in doubt. But it's time where both of these guys would like to start hearing about contract extensions. Best way to do that is make sure that this team starts strong out of the box in 2023. You figure for Deshaun Watson, probably maybe somewhere around 10 plays. If you remember, similar to last year, the first game against Jacksonville, Deshaun did start that game, got 2 series. The first series was a 3-and-out. I think if it's a long, sustained drive, maybe 7-8 plays, Browns get some points, that might be enough for Coach Stefanski to say, you know what, I've seen enough. Everybody go ahead, sit down. We'll start rotating in the other guys. If it's a short, quick first series, then I wholeheartedly believe that Deshaun Watson, the offense, will go out there for a second drive. But we want to see. I want to see the way this works. I want to see Elijah Moore and Deshaun Watson. I want to see Donovan Peoples-Jones and Deshaun Watson. Njoku, of course. See if Amari Cooper is one of these guys that will play. Could be tough as Amari, trying to come back from the surgery. And obviously, Amari, a pro's pro, a veteran's veteran. He'll be ready to go week 1. Whether or not that means he needs to take part of a preseason game on August 11th, we'll see. So we're going to get to this, and obviously the offensive line play. And, maybe some reps for the starters. I'm not sure all of them, but we'll see. And I'm certainly excited to see the 2 rookie offensive linemen. I want to see more DeJuan Jones. I'm hoping we're going to get to see DeJuan Jones play some left tackle this week against Washington. He aced his first test at right tackle against the New York Jets, playing the entire game. Did not give up any pressures, was a fixture. You saw how he can use his length to his advantage. His footwork is crazy, crazy impressive for a man who is 6'8", 350 pounds. So a really, really great debut. But now the other thing is, let's try the other side. You don't draft somebody 6'8", 350 pounds with the footwork that DeJuan Jones has and just say, hey, we're ready. We're okay with him being a right tackle somewhere down the line. This team just extended Jack Conklin last season. So it's not like Jack's going anywhere anytime fast. I truly believe the plan is, can DeJuan Jones play left tackle? And can he play it well enough that maybe the Browns don't have to pay this 5th-year option they picked up on Jedrick Wills? And maybe Jedrick Wills is a player they look to move next year in the offseason as they try to get their finances a little bit back to normal. A lot of these big contracts are starting to hit. Of course, Deshaun Watson, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward. These big contracts now are going onto the books at higher numbers, and the Browns have to find a way to save some money somewhere else. So if you can get DeJuan Jones to go out there and play left tackle equal to, maybe even a little bit lesser than Jedrick Wills, it makes Jedrick Wills an expendable piece and somebody you're probably going to move on from, because you can save a boatload of money and essentially get the same amount of play at the left tackle position. Luke Whippler, again, he was another one, was crazy impressive against the Jets Thursday night, was able to show great ability in getting to the second level, sealing off linebackers. The Browns ran the ball extremely well against the Jets, and that was certainly due in part to the offensive line, certainly due in part to Luke Whippler, who had an exceptional effort in his first taste of NFL football Thursday night in the Hall of Fame game against the New York Jets. You get to other skill guys here. And, Cedric Tillman, look, this is the key with a rookie going through training camp and going through preseason games. You try to stack it. You had 1 good week, 2 receptions, 35 yards, showed to be a willing and aggressive blocker, so much so that the Browns actually were bringing him in almost more from like an H-back formation, because at 6'3", 215 pounds, the kid will get after it in blocking for his running backs. So Cedric Tillman, obviously an opportunity here to get some more reps. Does he maybe get reps with Deshaun Watson in the first team? We'll see. I think they're going to find a way to squeeze him in there, because I think they have a lot of faith in this young man to this point. And I do believe that they can put a lot on his plate. And we'll see the way that continues to go. Demetric Felton, if you had told me a month ago we'd be talking about Demetric Felton and as a positive possibly for this team in 2023, I would have told you you were nuts. I would have told you were nuts. I would have said I was nuts for even saying it. But between the returning ability, between the receiving ability, between how well he ran the ball Thursday night against the Jets, and now without Jerome Ford and we're hearing it could be week 1. It's week to week. But I don't think the Browns are just going to think that Jerome Ford can show up in the beginning of September and be ready 3 or 4 days later to make, his season debut against the Cincinnati Bengals. Somebody's going to have to be able to contribute. And Demetric Felton in all these facets that he can do, plus you can put him on the field. The Browns can put Deshaun Watson in the gun and nobody in the backfield. But you want to know what? You can put Demetric Felton on the field, put him in a slot position, and all of a sudden motion him back to the backfield. And now all of a sudden you can go ahead and set up some running plays. There are a lot of things that this team can do with Demetric Felton to offset the fact that Jerome Ford is not going to be around for a little while. I'm excited to see that. We all want to see DTR, and the word is all 4 quarterbacks are going to play, which means we'll get our first taste of Josh Dobbs this year in the preseason. Had a good preseason for the Browns last year. Once Deshaun Watson was back with the team, they had to move on from Josh Dobbs. Did get to play some regular season football finally in his career last year for the Tennessee Titans. But I am excited to see DTR. I really want to see more of this kid. You just saw the game intelligence, the block that sprung Demetric Felton for the touchdown. That's just great intelligence. You're supposed to carry out your fakes as a quarterback. You do that. He did that. And then guess what? As he's carrying out his fakes, Felton bounces it out, and he has the wherewithal to say, oh, my God, there's one guy between my guy and the end zone. Let me go lay a shoulder into him and spring my guy for a touchdown. I want more DTR because DTR is going to be the number 2 quarterback of this team sooner than later. And Hassan Hall, look, there's juice in the legs. Was a quality player at Louisville before he transferred over to Georgia Tech. He's got juice. He's got return ability. This is a guy that all of a sudden, again, things were cloudy. I think the Browns will keep 4 running backs. John Kelly, I've always liked John Kelly. I just don't think he has the athleticism and the juice that maybe a Felton does or a Hassan Hall has. Hassan Hall, the opportunity is going to be there for him Friday night to get some big reps and to continue to put eyes upon himself and get himself an opportunity here to maybe make the Browns' final roster. So we've got a lot to look forward to here on the offensive side of the ball. We've got starters playing. Then we're going to look at the growth of the rookie offensive linemen and then some of these skill guys. Look, we know Tillman's going to make it. Felton, it's trending upwards. We know DTR is going to be here and be here a while. And Hassan Hall, for me, is your wild card to watch out for Friday night against the Commanders at home in Cleveland. I am Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate you all for being along for this episode of Locked On Browns. Stick around. Final segment coming up next. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns as the Browns prepare to face the Washington Commanders Friday night. The big news, obviously, Shelby Harris, after thinking it over, and maybe the Browns upping the amount of money Mr. Harris can make here for Cleveland in 2023. Got that done, and it was absolutely vital. It was absolutely crucial. This was the final piece that this team needed for 2023. So huge job by Andrew Berry making sure that that deal got done. Now, what I want to see, now starters playing, majority of the starters, we'll see. I mean, some are going to be off the field, but the first impression was from Thursday night defensively was the Browns did an incredible job of stopping the run that day. Yes, it was against backups, but yes, the Browns were playing their backups. Held the New York Jets to 2.8 yards per carry. I want to see, is this going to translate to the starters on the defensive side of the ball? Once Dalvin Tomlinson gets involved, Myles Garrett gets involved, Zadarius Smith gets involved. Of course, again, Shelby Harris will not be a part of this. But I want to see that what Jim Schwartz's coaching is doing, what his defensive theory, which is defense to take these guys out of it, because ideally he wants to get to pass rushing situations. He wants to let the dogs loose. In order to do that, you got to shut teams down on 1st and 10. And that is going to be the key here. And we'll see how it translates here as the Browns are going to start playing their starting players in these preseason games, which means JOK. Sione Takitaki, Anthony Walker just returned to team drills. So I have a hard time believing that either one of these guys are going to be a part of this. But if both guys are going to be available week 1, we're going to take that and we're going to run with it, certainly. So that means you're going to see more Tony Fields. You're going to see some Jacob Phillips. You're going to see some Jordan Kunashik. We're going to see the young kid out of Georgia Tech as well, Charlie Campbell. And he had the hit of all hits Thursday night against the Jets. And when you hit as hard as he did, and you knock a fumble loose, and it goes like 10 yards out of bounds, That is crazy to do, but that is the amount of impact that he put on that ball carrier, that ball went flying out of this guy's hands and traveled about 10 yards out of bounds without somebody able to get to it. So really, really excited to see the way that this team can go after it with their starters and an effort to slow down the run, to stop the run. So basically, Jim Schwartz can put the guys out there, tell them to put their ears back and say, boys, go get it. Isaiah McGuire is going to be somebody who's probably going to get a lot of playing time here. But I do want to see if the Browns are going to start going a little bit more, 3 DNs on the field, 4 DNs on the field, because we've heard that this is something they're looking to do, and this is something they're starting to do a little bit more in practice. So when it comes obvious passing situations, 2nd and 8, 3rd downs, are they going to start pulling the bigger boys off the field, start putting more pass rushers on the field? It could be a defensive line alignment of 4 guys, possibly 5 guys. And that is something I am looking forward to see. Players I am certainly looking forward to performing here. I want to see these new safeties. I want to see Juan Thornhill. First of all, I just want to see somebody in the Browns rocking number 1, doing something else besides play quarterback or kick the football. Of course, Rodney McLeod, Grant Delpit. Grant Delpit was always in a tough spot here. I think we have a more defined role for Grant Delpit here in 2023. When he first came in, Joe Woods just kind of had him doing everything. I do believe that this team knows that Juan Thornhill is the on-the-roof free safety for this team. Rodney McLeod can do a little bit of everything, and you can start picking your matchups with Grant Delpit. You can start by covering backs out of the backfield, covering tight ends, being more aggressive in his run support, because he knows and should have confidence that there is guys behind him who are capable of having his back. So really, really looking forward to that. Greg Newsome ran a little bit yesterday, which is some good progress. I don't know necessarily I don't believe there's any chance Greg Newsome is playing, which means we get to see more of Martin Emerson. The length, the physicality, just the overall toughness that Martin Emerson plays with, easily becoming a fan favorite for the Cleveland Browns here. And somebody who will see a ton of reps in 2023, along with Denzel Ward, of course, along with Greg Newsome, as this cornerback room gets into a better position where they have a defense coordinator who has a lot of faith in them, is kind of got to let them go ahead and go out and do their thing. So, I had mentioned, obviously, Isaiah McGuire, and the talk was, from the coaches as far as, his first preseason game, there was some good, there was some bad. But that's what you want to hear when you're dealing with a rookie who's got talent, and Isaiah McGuire has talent. You want to hear that maybe where there's some negatives. You want to hear that there's some flaws, because with the coaches, they're going to work you through those flaws. They want to say, well, you handled it this way. Look, we teach it this way. This is the way you got to do it here. This ain't Missouri anymore. This ain't the SEC anymore. You've got to do it the way it's done in the NFL. So now you want to see the player take that feedback, take that criticism, and use it. And use it to improve himself, because there is a role here for Isaiah McGuire. There is a role here for Alex Wright, even though there are 3 veteran defensive ends in front of him. He wants to play a lot of them. So there's a lot of opportunity for everybody, but you got to prove that you are worthy to be on the field. So obviously a big opportunity for Isaiah McGuire Friday night, as he's kind of unfettered now. There's not much in front of him. And Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas, both those gentlemen might not be back for 2 months from now. So this is a real spot here for Isaiah McGuire to basically kick himself up the pecking order while these 2 guys are out rehabbing. Sione Ika. And now this is where it's really, really interesting for Mr. Ika, because, look, we all confident and know he's going to make this roster. But for him, first and foremost, is show what you did last week in that short yardage opportunity where he basically just split 2 blockers. The running back ran into him, and that was it. You never saw the running back again. Basically just got absorbed into this enormous body. Sione Ika shut it down. Jets did not get the first down, basically changed the complexion of the game at that time. So, for Ika, this is big. You're getting out there. You're going to start playing with the better competition, starting playing against the better competition, of course. And now let's see, just like others, we know he's probably never going to be much of a factor in the pass rush, and that's okay. Especially okay with the signing of Shelby Harris. Go out there, be one of the guys that gets this team to 2nd and 8 or 3rd and long, and you get off the field, and we get crazy more athletic by bringing a lot more pass rushers on the field, or an interior pass rusher with the capabilities that Shelby Harris has. Cam Mitchell, I thought Cameron Mitchell showed some good things last week. Cameron Mitchell going to get an opportunity here again this week. Obviously, try again. Rookies stacking it, man. You want to put those weeks together. So Cam Mitchell going to go out here. Yeah, I mean, everything at Northwestern, inside, outside, special teams, you name it. Cameron Mitchell did it in his time at Northwestern. Now, for me, here's a guy we're going to keep our eye on this week. Wearing number 63 as an edge player, Lonnie Phelps. Undrafted free agent out of Kansas. 31 bench reps, ran in the 4.5s, a little bit smaller at the edge position than the Browns are normally accustomed to at 6'2" and change, about 235, somewhere between 235 and 240. But there's big opportunity here for him. Yes, some starters are going to play, but they're going to be out of the game, 10, 12 plays into it. And the Browns have to find a way to have defensive ends on the field for the entirety of the rest of the game. Lonnie Phelps could kind of get like a DeJuan Jones jump in playing time where he sees maybe 50 snaps, the way the game works, of course, Friday night. And Lonnie Phelps, it may not be to make a name here or make a roster here with the Cleveland Browns, but there's opportunity there to basically put your name out there and get yourself a job, at least for 2023. So Lonnie Phelps, for me, is the guy that I am going to have my eyes on Friday night against the Commanders, because there's a lot of athleticism to him. There's a lot of juice to him. He's got some bull strength to him. So an opportunity to make some plays Friday night could exist, certainly, for Lonnie Phelps Jr. Your big news of the day, Shelby Harris, it's official, signed with the Cleveland Browns. Who we are watching on the offensive side of the ball Friday night against the Commanders. Defensively, we got our eyes on a bunch of things, and I highlighted a bunch. Lonnie Phelps is one, and certainly this new defensive line is another as we start to integrate starting players into Browns 2023 preseason. I am Jeff Lloyd. Make sure you're following at Jeff_LJ_Lloyd. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. Of course, subscribe, join the everyday crowd on YouTube, the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go, Browns.